Hi, I'm Mitch and I want you to have a go at carving some letters. You don't need an awful lot of tools and it's a bit of fun. I'm certainly no expert at this, I hardly do any carving at all, but just a few minutes, I've done my name, looks pretty good, and you can do that too. You don't need much to get started. I've got some chip carving knives here, they're always good, but you can use a utility knife and you can use a marking knife to begin with. I've got a carving chisel here, so basically just got a straight blade, but it's got a bevel on both sides. You could use a bevel edge chisel and get very good results as well. So there's absolutely no excuse if you're a woodworker from not having a go at carving. I'm going to be doing this totally freehand. I've done my M, so I just need to do an I next. So let's just say something like that. Just a little bit wider and flare it a little bit at the top. Roughly put a centre line in there. We'll probably make the dot of the eye a little bit bigger. If you've only got very basic tools, doing the dot of your eye, I would use a twist bit in a drill. And for cutting the actual eye itself, let's just use the knives. So I'm using a straight knife here, chip carving knife this one, but you could use a marking knife or you could use a utility knife. And I'm just going to, it's rather awkward around this camera, but I'd put in the centre line, starting just in from one end. Follow that line round, slight curve, and stopping just short of this end here. I'll lay that in a bit deeper, so just following that line again, just going a little bit deeper, and we're basically going vertically in, or almost vertically in. This is where I use the chisel. I want to come in at about 45 degrees, 30-45 degrees to that line, and we cut towards that line. And you can see this chisel a little bit long for the job, so I'll use it at a slight angle. So I'm cutting from my outside line towards the line we've scribed in the middle. Coming back the other way. Starts to lift out. Something smaller would be easier here, so I'll just go to an ordinary chisel here. This is a small firmer. I can track that slight curve a lot easier. Just cut down to the bottom of the line I initially put in there. You can see how much easier it is to come around the corner with a shorter chisel. And we're still not going right to the end, because at the end we want to put a bevel going back towards the line. So I'll just run in from the very corner at the end, slight line with the edge of the chisel, and make that deeper as we go further towards the centre. Same over here. And then I can take this end out at a slight angle. And we do the same at this end. Working from the other side of the letter. Coming into the base of that scored line again. You might want to make that scored line deeper. It's something to aim for, but actually once you've started you can just, cuts from the side can just go deeper as long as you meet them in the middle. I've heard people call this method cut to cut, because basically you make one cut and then you make another cut at an angle to join the first cut, relieving the chip. It can start off looking quite messy and then gradually you refine it, taking less and less away with each cut. Cutting the inside of a curve like this, a little bit tricky, and the shorter the chisel, the much easier that will be. So I'm just using the chisel here at an angle, and I can actually make a cut round the corners a little bit easier. You see how I'm finishing here. I've got the chisel at an angle which makes the mitre with the end cut on here. Clean out the little fuzz at the bottom. And already that's not looking too bad. Now to do the dot, if you've got some gouges, I don't have many of these, I've got the smallest one here and I've gone up quite a size for this second one. So I'm going to need to do it with the smallest and just make it a bit bigger than is obvious. Basically here we cut in, turn the gouge round, and that makes a dot, and that's basically the size of the sweep on that gouge. We want to make this a little bit bigger, so I'm going to be moving the chisel as I cut rather than simply rotating it. And that just cuts us out a larger circle. There we go. So do give carving a go this weekend.